So, Iowa's Lucy Olsen had a fantastic year. An absolutely fantastic year in college. Like, she went and averaged like or 18 points per game, 5 assists per game on decent shooting splits. And again, her assist numbers went down to 4.9. I think that was because of the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. But like, this is somebody who has had a lot of good years. Like, again, played in a Sweet 16 for Villanova, if I'm not mistaken, where in fairness, she only averaged 12.4 points per game, but that was when Maddie Segrist was putting up 30 a game. Coming off a year where she averaged 23 points per game and still averaged 18 on better shooting splits all around and actually shot the three ball well. But Lucy Olsen, did she make any All-American teams? No, she didn't. And I don't hate it. I'm just looking at people giving their honorable mentions for All-Americans. She hasn't even gotten an honorable mention. She not only was not given an All-American spot, which is fine, she was not even an honorable mention for an All-American. And ESPN just released their 25 best players for March Madness. First of all, Juju number 1. Okay. Like, I don't hate any of this list, to be honest. Other than the fact that Iowa State have been horrific. Iowa State have been horrific. I've been terrible this year. I understand. Audie Crooks can score. But they've been horrific this year as a team. And I don't know. I don't know if you're going to put, like, as much as I would say, yeah, full Wiley might be a better player. I don't know. I think top 25, I still think she should have been somewhere in the top 25. You're even seeing, like, Iowa's Lucy Olsen brutally snubbed from the top 25 March Madness stars. Few transfer portal additions have delivered as much of a presence as former Villanova guard Lucy Olsen has for Iowa. Olsen has been Iowa's offensive catalyst, leading them in scoring and willing the Hawkeyes to wins down the stretch. For her play this year in elite level, earned her the honors of unanimous first team All Big Ten selection as guard. This distinction is incredibly impressive as conference is deep and talented as Big Ten is. Apparently that honor is not enough for ESPN to take note. With the first round of tournament approaching, analysed top 25 players in the bracket, and they didn't have her in it. And I am going to put my foot down here. Lucy Olsen was one of the best 25 players in college ball this year. Iowa were one of the best 25 teams in college ball. I mean that. And also a load of weird things like no South Carolina players in the All-Americans. I understand their stats aren't the greatest, but like none of them. Really, none of them. And I get it. You could maybe argue their best player has come off the bench. Maybe you could argue their two best players come off the bench, but still no South Carolina players as All-Americans is kind of wild. But, man, Lucy Olsen has been so good this year. She's been so good this year. And I don't think people realize how good she's been. She's been one of the best 25 players in college ball. I think the fact that she wasn't even an honorable mention for an All-American is crazy. And, like, Iowa are a good team. Like, they are one of... Like, if you look at the best 25 teams in the nation, there's no way in hell Iowa weren't in that. I know they didn't end the year unranked. They didn't end the year ranked. But they beat freaking USC. Do you want to know how many people this year outplayed Juju Watkins in a game where they won? 2. Hannah Hidalgo and Lucy Olsen. That is it. She basically willed her team back into a game. And like you're looking at it and it's like AP have their All-Americans. And a few people got honorable mentions. And I'm sorry, Sonia Citron should not be an honorable mention over Lucy Olsen. Sonia Citron was the third best player. The third best player on a team that were, they were better. They were a third seed. She was the third best player on her team. And I'm sorry, like you have Olivia Miles and stuff. Sonia Citron did not deserve or at least if you're going to give Sonia Citron an honorable mention, Lucy Olsen should have had one too. But yeah, it's a little bit of a surprising one, because, and in my opinion, how much better was Georgia A. Moore than Lucy Olsen? I don't know. They even gave Cody McMahon an honorable mention. I get it. Ohio State were like this much better than Iowa. They were like this much better than Iowa throughout the year. And I would completely understand, again, if we were looking at like a player that was struggling or a bad team. No, they were a good team. They were genuinely a good team. And we saw nothing. We've seen nothing. And I cannot wait for the NCAA tournament where Lucy Olsen, I cannot wait to watch Lucy Olsen against Murray State, for Iowa to hopefully get that win, and then watch her coming up against Oklahoma, where there's a good chance she'll be the best player on the floor. And like, the mad thing is that even when her stats and her shooting wasn't great against Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, she was still the only player on the team that could get the ball past the halfway line. Even though her shooting wasn't great, early in the game, when Ohio State built up a big lead, she was the only player scoring on her team. Like, Lucy Olsen is having one of the more underrated college seasons there's been. Because obviously, look, Lucy Olsen had all that hype post Juju Watkins and USC win. And all she did after that was play like one of the best players in the country. But the hype seems to have vanished. Because, I don't know, maybe Iowa didn't play against UCLA in the semifinals of the tournament, of the Big Ten tournament. They did lose in very, very controversial fashion to Ohio State. But yeah, it's one of those situations where you just never know. Like, Iowa were genuinely, they were the big dogs. They were the big dogs. So maybe Iowa players kind of got a little bit more, a little more hype in other years when they were one of the top teams. Now they're no longer the big dogs, and the person who replaced Caitlin Clark and did as good a job as anyone possibly could have is getting snubbed of every award, every list, every ranking of best players, every mock draft. And you never know. You never know what's going to happen in the tournament. But one thing I would hope is that I think we're going to see is Lucy Olsen absolutely hooping against Murray State. And if they can go, I think they're going to beat Oklahoma. I'm telling you, I think they get to UConn to Sweet 16. Then UConn win. But I do think they get to see UConn. But anyway, that's the video. I'll see you guys.